Hey guys, it's Takara. I figure since we're coming to the end of season 3 of Takara TV, I should maybe go back to where it all started. I'm gonna tell you about my journey as an independent artist, and I feel like hopefully it can help other independent artists, or someone can tell me where I went wrong in life. I was born in Adelaide, Australia. At the time, it's quite a small town. There was maybe 900,000 people. My dad met my mum. He was in the Air Force. They had kids. And then when I was 4 years old, we actually moved to Fairfax, Virginia. I didn't really think too much of it until 9/11 happened. So we moved back to Australia after that happened. My mom was like, fuck no, get me out of Dodge. I used to think that people were born either with the ability to sing or not. And I thought I was one of the nots, which is quite telling considering I would force my way into so many musical activities as a child. I was in the Australian Girls Choir. I would force my schools to let me sing the national anthems at every single assembly. So I was always trying to do music in some capacity. It's not that I didn't think that there was a possibility, but I was being told by like everyone around me that it wasn't a possibility. We got to high school, I meet my friend Destiny. He kind of like knew I wanted to sing. He shows me a song that he's made on GarageBand, and I was like, oh, I have GarageBand, let me try. So I started making my own little songs, I guess we'll call them. In school, I was like the type of kid who would stay home from school to make YouTube videos, like in the early days of YouTube. And I'm sorry, I was onto something. I started making all of these demos. I was producing, I was writing, and then I would put them out on SoundCloud. I really thought you needed a label and you needed to be discovered, and I was auditioning for X Factor every single year. And then as soon as I turned 18, I was like, get me out of Adelaide. I moved to Melbourne and I go to SAE University. I'm thinking they're going to teach me how to be a pop star, you know? And it was a lot of math. It was a lot of math. At a certain point, I just stopped going. Let's stay in school, kids. And so from there, I kind of just had to figure out how to be an adult. So then I was bartending for a few years. I was also dancing around Australia as well. 2016 gets here and Philando Castile is murdered by the police. That's when like a fire really awoke in me, where even though I was in Australia, I am African American, and I was like, whoa, it actually happens in Australia too. So naturally, I organized a solidarity rally with a couple of other girls, and it just kind of like took off, and somehow I became like the face of that. I was just a child. But yeah, I had like the police calling me like, you don't have a permit to do this. I'm like, bro, I don't know what the fuck a permit is. I'm 12. But unfortunately, because of that situation, I did get doxxed by the Australian KKK. I was posted on this website called Chimp Mania, and they posted my family, they posted my address, they called my mum a race traitor. They were comparing my dad to every racist trope you could even think about. Just disgusting. I became very paranoid of who was around me, and so one night I had gone out with some friends and I came back to my apartment and I knew my address was online, and there was men standing outside of my door wearing balaclavas, which is like not an uncommon thing in Australia. Well, you're like, what the fuck is this? And I call my mom and I'm like, Mom, what do I do? She's like, just get the fuck out of there. So I drive back to Adelaide and I'm on the next flight to America. I moved to Chicago with $75 to my name. I am sleeping on the floor of my sister, her boyfriend, and their 2 housemates' apartment. It was like so stressful just moving to a whole new country. There's so many things you don't really think about, and I couldn't even get like a debit card or a credit card till I was like on the lease. Couldn't be on the lease until I had a job. I felt like I had to learn how to just exist again. I didn't feel like a real human being, honestly. So I'm bartending. At this point, I have like some demos. I'm like writing some stuff, but I'm not showing anyone at this point. I'm in America now, and I'm like, all right, I'm really gonna go for it. Like, this is my time. I've always wanted to be here. We're gonna do it. And I'm like, I need to go to the best studio, obviously. I saved up all this money from my bartending job, paid to go to the studio. I tell this guy, like, this is my first session. I've never like recorded before. This man lets me sing the song over and over again, one time through each time. Doesn't tell me that I can go bit by bit. Not that it was his job to teach me, but I was definitely taken advantage of in that situation. When I went home and showed my sister and her boyfriend and their housemates this song, it was not good, and I was so discouraged that I just didn't show anyone else my music until in comes Shantae. I show Shantae my little demos and she's like, babe, you need to put this out. And I'm like, babe, no, I'm not gonna put these out. These sound so bad. Like, I've been burned before. She introduces me to this girl called Ksenia at Major Studio in Chicago. We start mixing and mastering my music. I learn about DistroKid. I start uploading my music through DistroKid. Nothing really happens at the start until I uploaded my music onto Triple J. I had like a couple songs pop off on Triple J a little bit. I had some interest from like lawyers and labels, and I was like, this is my moment, this is my time to shine. Until they started asking me all these questions of like, do you have a lawyer? Do you have a manager? And I'm like, I have none of that. None of that obviously worked out because I wasn't where they thought I was at that point. But I didn't give up. I was writing more songs, recording songs in the basement of the place I was currently living. Yeah, I just kept putting music out, and eventually this is when everything started to kind of like move for me a little bit. So I'm working at this bar job. There's another girl there who actually, I think she was the head of marketing at iHeartRadio, which is like saying a lot when that girl was also bartending to pay her bills. So because I had a little bit of an Instagram following, I think it was like 16,000 people or something from the activism I was doing in Australia, people would just kind of assuming now in America that I was an Instagram model. So I was invited to WGCI Big Jam. I went there, everyone obviously thought I was an influencer. There's people grabbing me, like everyone's trying to talk to me, all these guys and whatever. At some point, I just randomly find myself behind Cardi B, and I was just like, whoa, like this is incredible. And to see that up close and personal, the fire inside of me just like lit up. I'm inspired now. I need to go home and make my music. So as we're walking out, this man grabs me. This man ends up being Jeremiah. He really gives me some great advice actually. And I showed him and his team this song that I have called Strawberry Cake. And it was then that his team and him were like, you need to move to Los Angeles. That would be really, really good for you. But COVID happened. So COVID happens. I think everyone's gonna die because I had been bartending. I get put on unemployment and I'm living off of unemployment for like 4 months. My sister is moving to a new apartment in Los Angeles. And I've always wanted to end up in Los Angeles. I moved to LA and yeah, I was unemployed for 14 months. Took the first job that I could get, and that's how I became a barista. Now remember this, it's gonna come into play in a bit. I'm a barista. I start dating this customer. Mistake number one. I send him a cute video one day and I'm just like, your ass is looking fat. And I'm pouring milk into the coffee. I'm sure you guys have all seen this. That goes viral. I already have music out at this point, but people weren't really like connecting the dots of like, this coffee girl is also making music. Obviously a bunch of other people started doing the coffee thing as well. So I was like, how can I kind of capitalize off of this? So that is when I started putting my music behind my coffee reels, which I feel like is how a lot of you maybe found me. Let me know in the comments. It's been an interesting road since then, honestly. I feel like I popped off social media wise a little bit, but musically it's still like the conversion of getting people to realize that Coffee Girl does music as well has been so interesting. I feel so grateful. It's just become such a great way to have people find my music. So many people have come from so far to like come see me live, and they're like, I found you because my fiance was sending me your reels. And I just think like that's beautiful to me. I have like chills right now actually. I never thought that this was something that was possible for me. I never thought that it was something that I kind of deserved, but now that I'm here, I'm so proud of how far I've come, and just the fact that I never stopped, even with all the doubts and all of the trials and tribulations and the learning experiences that didn't go the way I thought they were gonna go. I think it's a real testament to what you can do if you put your mind to it, and you kind of just like, you're okay to live paycheck to paycheck while you're chasing a dream, because I don't come from money. I wish I did, but yeah, I'm figuring it out regardless. If you guys have any other questions for me, please let me know in the comments. I love to give more detail. If there's specific questions, yeah, let me know. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you, regardless of how you found me, regardless of why you're sticking around, whether it's the coffee or the music. You've changed my life. Never let anyone who hasn't tried what you're trying tell you that it's not possible.